This is Ox Bacon. You just heard me. And remember the saying, be nice and sweet to all the people you meet as you go through life, laddering down the same folks you meet on your way up. You got to talk to them on your way back down. Thank you for listening. I know you enjoyed yourself. If you want to send me thank you letters, that's quite all right. Just come August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We might even carry over to the 6th and talk to Ox Bacon.
All right, and we are back here once again at In Your Head. And now we are joined by the man returning to the show. He's actually one of my favorites, and he might think I said it to everybody, but I don't. We have Big Bully Busick on the line.
Well, what a great pleasure to be back on your program again, guys. I think you do an excellent job in bringing the news to the wrestling fan and letting old gray-haired bullies like me come on and talk about the past.
Excellent. And one of my favorite things about you, and I'm a man who wears many different hats. I wear a top hat a lot. I've got a bowler, and you have a tremendous bowler.
Well, you know, that really fitted with a handlebar mustache and made the bully what he was, and characteristically, it really enlightened the character of Big Bully Busick.
Yeah, honestly, like that was always why I really, that character was a character. It was like almost like, you know, a cartoon up there on the screen. It was, he had the turtleneck, he had the bowler, the big mustache, and that look was tremendous when I was a kid, and even now when I watch it. And like, how did that look evolve? Like, how did you come up?
Well, it's kind of ironic because, and maybe a lot of your fans out there listening don't remember the days of when the Mario game was popular. But between that mustache and that hat, it paralleled that game, and the wrestling fans really latched on to that. And, you know, when we were on ESPN and down in Georgia and Florida, when we were wrestling, before I went to the WWE, you know, the fans would start that chant, Mario, Mario. And so, you know, it just fit right in for the time.
Yeah. You should have had well, I guess Harvey Whippleman could have been your Luigi.
If you want to say that, I'm all right with that. Never quite looked at it like that. But I know Vince didn't want anything to do with the Mario thing. He made sure that we didn't promote that because there was times when the fans would start that in the WWE, and you know, we were given strict orders, and we were not to acknowledge that.
Now, do you think he was like afraid, Nintendo would sue or?
Well, you know, I don't know the answer to that. Mm-hmm. I know that, you know, when I come out with the character, I want to be, like you said, very cartoonish. Mm-hmm. And Vince absolutely wanted nothing cartoonish about the bully when I come in. In fact, he wanted more of a, as I look back on it, he wanted more of a Stone Cold type attitude and mentality, which I should have picked up on, and I guess I'd have been doing a little bit better financially, huh?
Yeah, but that wasn't really like what was going on in wrestling at that time, so I could see how you know, it wouldn't have made too much sense. But do you think you would have been able to pull that off, you know, like a serious character? Well,
the way I had the character mentally in my head and what Vince wanted was definitely two different things. Mm-hmm. And you know, this comes back to, if there's any young wrestlers out there wanting to make it in the business, sometimes you should listen to guys that have been doing it for a long time and know how to make what they want instead of being a hardhead and wanting to do what you want. I wasn't necessarily a hardhead. Mm-hmm. I wasn't grasping what they wanted. And, you know, and at the time I didn't know it, but I was dealing with some very serious health issues in the ring that I thought was stage anxiety or I was just blowing up in the ring. And a guy by the name of Tom, I can't pronounce his name correctly, but he wrote a big article on it. I did a retirement match here for a charity outfit about a little better than a year ago, but he wrote a full article on it where I was locked into chronic AFib, and I could have packed it in at any given time in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's pretty scary then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody's talking about the passing of
the Warrior.
Yeah, and God rest his soul, and memories eternal. But a lot of the boys have really passed away young, and it's a sad thing. And I don't know what it does or doesn't have to do with wrestling, but it was about 9 years ago that I actually had a sudden death cardiac arrest, and in the gym, and they brought me back with paddles. Thank goodness they had the paddles there.
Yeah,
and that's how we discovered that I was actually had a heart condition.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so something like that could, you could have it, but you're not going to know about it unless they actually would look for it.
Well, my problem was I was in AFib, and you see it advertised on TV all the time today. You see the commercials for AFib, and it's nothing more than a regular heartbeat. But it has to do with the pumping of the blood. Needless to say, if you're out there running around and your cardio's up, you could throw a blood clot and good night, sweet Irene, you're going to be graveyard dead.
Speaking of Warrior, were you around him at all?
No, I never got a chance to be on any card with the Warrior. And sometimes I don't get these timeline rights, but I'm pretty sure that Warrior left as I was coming in, I come in late '88, and I don't know when Warrior had left down there, but I think it was right when I was coming in.
Yeah, and then he probably came back because he came back a few times. He probably came back right when you were leaving. Yeah.
My deal was a little more than a 2-year deal that I was there, and I was on TV maybe 6-8 months out of that 2 years.
Why was that? That you were only on so much, for your whole contract?
Well, when the Bully character hit ESPN is when I started getting phone calls, and because, it went nationwide. And at the time that was with Global, and, Bill Eadie was the booker down there, and Bill had put me with Bad News Brown as a tag team. And that was something that I overlooked in and of itself too, because, I actually started when it was the WWF. And so I always considered the WWE home. So when I got the opportunity to go talk and get this contract with Vince, I jumped at it. Again, being young in the business, wanting to make it to what we called New York at the time. I never really considered the potential of the tag team of Bad News Brown and Big Bully Busick. I mean, that was a tag team that was made in heaven right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's interesting too, because you talked about McMahon wanting you to be more of the serious guy, and I always thought Bad News Brown would have done, even though he was a big star, would have actually even done better later on, because he was really a guy I think would have fit in during the Attitude Era.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
The cartoony era,
Say it again, buddy.
I was just saying, sometimes he really stuck out in the 80s era because everyone was kind of cartoony, and yet he was like this real serious, no-nonsense guy.
Absolutely, and you're right. He would have fit in perfect. Imagine if it had come later down the road. It had been slaying him. And he did when he was in there anyway. I mean, his serious, no-nonsense attitude was over.
Definitely. Yeah, I always liked it because he was, even for when they do the Survivor Series, and all the heels would be friends with each other just because they were all bad guys would like each other, I guess. But he'd be the one guy that actually wouldn't like the other bad guys, and he'd walk out on them. And I remember as a kid, I always thought, hey, that guy's even worse than the other guys. He doesn't even like the other.
Yeah. When we sit and talk about this, isn't it great what the sport of professional wrestling, how it's gotten into so many people's. The wrestling fan is going to be the greatest fan in the world, and that's why I like going to these autograph signings. I'm going to be heading up to the New England Fanfest on June 21st this year, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's up there in Warwick, Rhode Island, at the Chrome Plaza. Did you happen to see anything? Did you see one of their posters yet?
I have. I actually at the bus station where I go to, they have some flyers there. I was very happy to see that.
it's absolutely amazing the lineup of stars they have. I mean, they got Scott Hall, Razor Ramon coming in. They got Big Papa Pump. They got Anvil, one of my old nemesis, coming in. The list goes on and on and on. And if you're a wrestling fan, you definitely want to show up June 21st at that Chrome Plaza in Rhode Island.
Yeah. And I grew up in New England. I'm from Massachusetts, from the Cape. And so it's cool because they have a lot of the big-name guys that you just mentioned. And then there's a lot of local guys for people around here who grew up around here, like myself, like Mario Mancini. And I know, I think he'll be there, is the Duke of Dorchester, Pete Doherty, which is actually one of my favorite, I don't know what you would call him, enhancement guys. When I was a kid, I always got a kick out of him. And what's interesting is Mario Mancini is, from what I understand, he was your original opponent when you made your debut for the WWF.
Mario was my first opponent, and, you know, he come in and was a great guy, great wrestler, and, you know, listen, we all pay our dues to get through this business, and just like him, there was a day when I went to the WWF. I can remember tag teaming with Peter Maivia. I can remember tag teaming with Dominic DeNucci, and a wrestling match. I remember Nikolai Volkov when I first started. He threw me over the top rope so hard I could have took off like a rocket ship. Spiros Arion, you know, these are the guys that I'd go to TV and do what I had to do in the business. And when I get on these shows and I talk about those times like that, it's just amazing how time has flied and where wrestling has been and where it is now.
Yeah. There's not only is it the New England Fan Fest where you get to meet the guys, you get your autographs, and you can do the signatures and everything, you know, for photo ops. But they also have the New England Hall of Fame, which is very cool because they get to induct. I believe Harley Race is being inducted this year, and a lot of local guys, and it's just a really great event.
Oh, it's a super event. The people that put this on go to great lengths to give. When the people come there, they're going to get their money's worth. They're going to enjoy from the minute they walk through that door to the minute they leave. They're going to get their money's worth.
Now, another guy on this show, which I think actually is very similar to you in kind of stature, and is Scott Norton. Have you ever worked with him?
No, I never have, and you know, you're not the first person that has said that. But yeah, Scott has that powerlifting look, if you will, and I don't know Scott's background, but certainly, you know, I have an extensive background in powerlifting and did a couple big powerlifting shows on ESPN, which I was the promoter and director of. If any of you wrestling fans want to look at it, just go on YouTube and look for Mountaineer Cup, and you'll see some of the stuff I did with powerlifting.
That's very cool. I know Scott was a big arm wrestler before he went into professional wrestling, but I don't know.
Well, take a look at the guy. He's a monster.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So is Jim the Anvil. Another you mentioned. Now, did you like travel with Jim the Anvil Neidhart, or?
Anvil and I had several matches against each other. I didn't really travel with him, but there was times when you know, Jim the Anvil. You want to talk about a strength athlete? This guy is right up there with him. He was doing the CrossFit stuff before it was popular. You know, Anvil's style of strength training was different than the ironheads like me that was just your basic squat, bench, and deadlifts. Anvil was doing the heavy tires and his own form of kettlebell type training. You know, Anvil was one of your original strong men.
Yeah. From what I understand, that's how he actually got the name the Anvil, was when he was training with Stu Hart. He picked up an actual anvil and threw it or something, and so they nicknamed him the Anvil, which would make sense.
Well, you can always tell the wrestlers that did more strength training versus the wrestlers that did more the physique training, you know, outside the ring.
Yeah.
Just by their physiques.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think the strength training, do you think that fits better with a professional wrestler? You know, to be able to work in the ring and take the bumps and the punishment.
Well, you know, again, if you go back to my era, you know, the guys were all, to go anywhere, you had to be 250 or above.
Mm-hmm.
You know, today's wrestlers, they're weighing anywhere from 210 to 220, and if you're 240, you're a bigger man. And now you see it starting to come back around. You're seeing the bigger guys in there once again. So, you know, the wrestling business evolves, and the guys with the knowledge like Paul Heyman, Vince, and Triple H, you know, they're marketing geniuses, and they're gonna give to the people. They're gonna give the market what it demands.
Now, when I brought this up before we went live here, and the stump pullers, I always actually really liked that movie. I thought it was very cool, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that since. Where did that move originate? And you were telling me it was actually pretty hard to do, and it was.
Well, it was hard for me to do because of my physique.
Right.
You know, in my powerlifting career, if it's one lift that I always hated, it was the deadlifts. And the stump puller is very similar to that because you got to be able to bend down and get the bar. Well, I'm thick muscle and I don't stretch very easy. And it was actually hard for me to get down in there and grab the ankle so that I can get the guy up. So strong, you know, they wouldn't let me use the hard punch like I was using in Florida, Georgia, and on ESPN, which, by the way, wasn't the hard punch. It was really the bully blaster, because the hard punch is illegal, and the bully would do nothing. It was illegal. But nonetheless, Chief Jay Strongbow said, look, your finishing move is going to be the stump puller. I said, Chief, that's going to be hard for me. He said, I don't care. You're doing it. That's it. I said, all right, Chief, your call. And boom. The stump puller became my finishing move, and that was it.
Oh,
and it hurts too. I got to tell you, you get put in that, it hurts.
I would assume it would. That's when I would see it, I would say, that looks like that would hurt quite a bit. Was that hard for other guys to take as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, if you got a guy that is not limber enough, mm-hmm. and you have that move on him, you're stretching their hamstrings and their erector muscles to the point of damaging them. So you know you had to get it on, you had to get the referee in place, and you didn't want to hold it too long or too hard because you could wind up hurting the guy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was definitely a shoot move.
Yeah. Inchman, was there a question from the message board?
Yeah, I had a question from Change Man. He'd like to know, what was it like working Sid Justice?
Sid and I are actually very good friends, and we were training partners for years. I got nothing but good things to say about Sid. I mean, look at the physique. You never found a man that trained harder than Sid Vicious, and he come in, he was a crowd pleaser. And what was it like to work him? Mm-hmm. I only wrestled Sid I wrestled Sid one time when he come in and did the save when I was picking on Mike McGuirk. Mm-hmm. And if you watch that clip on YouTube, I'll tell you what, for a big fat guy, I shouldn't say that, I moved pretty good. I come up pretty high on that power bomb and the choke slam.
Mm-hmm. Well, was that a hard move to take, the power bomb? Because I mean, obviously it wouldn't be fun to take, but because Sid is so tall and it's going to be a big fall.
Well, look, anytime you take a body slam, mm-hmm. A power slam, a choke slam, you're going to land and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
There's just no two other. You gotta. There's no other way to say it. When you land, you hit, you hurt. So the answer is yeah, it hurts. Come on.
Yeah. Now, why didn't they let you use the hard punch? Was there any reason?
I don't know the reason, and you know, whatever it is, it was their call, and they were paying me, so we did what they said to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if they thought it was. I don't know the reasoning.
Mm-hmm. Did you get that move? Did Ox Baker teach you the ways of the hard punch?
No, that was something that we developed down in Georgia. Joe Pedicino, who I don't know if you guys know Joe, but Joe and Barney Blackstone, Barney was one of the people that actually come up with the name Bully, Big Bully Busick, because I described the character. I just lost the Georgia Heavyweight Championship. I was their heavyweight champion down there in Georgia. So I was coming back, and, you know, I was originally a heel and then came back as a babyface, won the title. And so now I was upset that I got a bad call. So when I come out with the derby and the cigar and the red turtleneck, Joe Pedicino and Barney Blackstone said, well, you just described the bully. And so there's how Big Bully Busick actually began.
Yeah. Now, from there, they were also involved with Global, right?
Yeah, they were very much involved with Global.
Yeah. Now, when Global started, because I used to come home every day from school and watch Global on ESPN. I remember it was like, I think it came on 3, and so I'd have to get off the bus and go right home so I could watch it. At the time, I mean, it was loaded with people. You were there, and guys who went on to become Harlem Heat were there, and just tons of people. Raven, Mick Foley was there for a while. Did you think this was really going to take off to be like a big wrestling company?
Yeah, well, we really did. You know, Axe of Demolition was the head booker, and he had the resources for all the talent. And like you said, you'd come home from school, every kid in the country would run home from school to watch wrestling. Mm-hmm. And, and it just took off from there. So the answer to your question is, yeah, we really did believe that it was going to turn into a big company. And, but, you know, as fate would have it, you know, it lasted, 2, maybe 3 years?
Yeah, it was, I guess 2 or 3 years. It was, you know, I know that, you know, they really pushed the Patriot. They thought that was, who I thought was great at the time. Now, what was he like?
He was a great guy, and I wrestled the Patriot several times, not only up through ESPN, but down through Georgia and Alabama, and he was a heck of an athlete.
Now, we just had Mickey Grant on earlier, who was a producer for World Class Championship Wrestling, and we talked a lot about the Sportatorium. And, you know, Global ran the Sportatorium, and did that have a special feel, that arena? When
I first started wrestling, here's how I got broke in. There was a guy by the name of Mike Padusis, a Greek guy from Steubenville, Ohio, who happened to come home, and I used my resources because my ethnicity is Serbian, and Serbians and Greeks are very close and likeness, and in that small steel community, I played my influence, and I went to him and I says, Mike, you got to teach me how to wrestle. I can't, no, you can't, you know, and he actually smoked the cigar. That's where I got the cigar from. Uh-huh. Nah, kid, you ain't getting into the business. I ain't letting you get into the business. Blah, blah, blah. You know, come on, so I talked him into it. Well, he lived in Dallas. So I flew to Dallas. I was there for 1 week, and there was another wrestler named Bulldog Plečić who happened to be Serbian. And they were with the Sportatorium. They allowed me to come in for 1 week. So that's where I first stepped into the ring, was the Sportatorium. They taught me how to tie up and take a headlock. They called Gorilla Monsoon, and I had my first match in Pittsburgh Civic Arena with Billy Red Lines in front of 15,000 people, and I didn't know a headlock from a wrist lock.
Are you going to be bringing the Derby to New England Fanfest?
I'm going to be bringing the Derby. I'm going to be bringing a Bully Vitamin Fortified cigar, and I'm going to be bringing some Bully protein bars too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Now your current project, would you like to tell people what that's about?
Well, I'm still very active in the fitness and the training, and excuse me. And you know, thank God my health is in great shape again, thanks to the hands of some very capable doctors. I went through an 8-hour what's called ablation surgery, and they got my heart beating properly again. So you know, I'm still powerlifting and doing cardio and doing all that good stuff. And when I was working to get healthy through these heart issues, I discovered an amino acid called L-arginine. And so what I did is I have a friend who actually makes 90% of the protein bars in the world. And I said, look, you got to put this in a protein bar. And he said, I can't make that taste good. I said, well, that's your project. So anyway, long story short, we developed a protein bar that has 3 grams of sugar, 20 grams of protein, and 5 grams of arginine. Now, your top energy drink, which uses arginine, only has 1 gram. So it's a niche bar, but it's not your average protein bar. And we're getting, not only are the athletes catching on to it, but oddly enough, a lot of the ladies are using it for a diet bar, and a lot of diabetic people are using it also because they can eat it because it's only got the 3 grams of sugar in it. But, ask British Bulldog's kid. He's going to be there on June 21st up at the Crown Plaza. You know, I met him down at a UFC fan expo, and which, by the way, I actually have his picture in my Facebook if any of the fans want to go look at that. When he come up to me, and needless to say, I didn't recognize him. When he told me who he was, it is such, when you think about the guys that have passed, I didn't know the Warrior, but I certainly knew the Bulldog. I wrestled the Bulldog, I don't even know how many times. Mm-hmm. But when you look at that, there's a spot in your heart when you become a certain family with these wrestlers throughout the years, even if you don't know them. But there's a closeness that's hard to describe. So when one of these guys pass away, especially at an early age, I know a lot of the boys really, really take it to heart.
Yeah, and did you meet him at all when he was when he was a little kid? I know obviously you would look different.
Yeah, I did. That's the strange part.
Yeah.
I met him. I met Kerry Von Erich's kids. It's wow. It's amazing. So, when I get in the mirror and curl this handlebar mustache, I say, man, you're getting old, Bully.
You still have the mustache.
I still have the mustache.
So,
and I still smoke the cigars.
What do you have a favorite? Is there a specific brand of cigar that you smoke?
My routine daily cigar is a St. Louis Ray 6x60 gauge Maduro. And if it's a special moment, I might fire up a La Gloria 64 gauge Esteli. So there's, for any of your cigar listeners out there, there's your tip for the good cigars.
I will pretend I know what that means. Well, we do actually have he's a great guy. He's actually in the chat room right now, Boxman, and he was very nice and sent me a bunch of cigars. And so I was, there was a former guest on the show, and he's met me, and I took out a cigar, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you smoked cigars." And I was like, "Oh, I don't really." And then he looked, and I just had it in my pocket, and he just started shaking his head, and he was like, That is not how you properly, carry like a fine cigar. And it was like all dried up, and it was.
Oh, how do you do such a thing? That's blasphemy.
He was not happy.
He was right in not being happy. You
go on. I'm sorry.
You don't do that to a good cigar. Now, come on.
I need to be taught the proper way to smoke a cigar. You could go online and learn anything about anything nowadays. You just gotta determine how much is truth and how much is BS. Howard Finkel's also going to be there.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was back in the time too. Yeah. I remember him well.
Now, I think that, in my opinion, the opinion of most people, the best ring announcer of all time.
Oh yeah, there's not even a question about that. Mike McGuirk was up there too, though.
That's good.
Mike McGuirk did a heck of a job. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was one of the first to get in there and do that. And then I don't remember, Bonnie Blackstone, was she before or after Mike McGuirk?
That might have been maybe a little bit after, I think, or around the same time.
Hey, you're the host of you're the wrestling host, so you're supposed to know this stuff.
Yes. I remember that. I think it might have been about the same time. I remember Michael McGuirk, though, on WWF TV.
Oh, Mike McGuirk was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And, actually, it's funny because what really springs to mind is like Bobby Heenan would always, say different jokes about her when she was out there. And Bobby Heenan will actually also be there.
Yeah, Bobby Heenan, boy, I love Bobby Heenan. First of all, as a fan, I love Bobby Heenan. Second of all, I got to know him personally when I was with the WWE, and on a personal basis, he's a top shelf guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, I mentioned this on the show before, he's a guy that can be absolutely hilarious, and then he can also, when he was like being a manager, he could also, really make you want to hate him. So he could do the whole spectrum. He's just fantastic.
Well, figure those managers back in the days. You had Captain Lou, you had Classic Freddie Blassie, the Wizard, Bobby Heenan. You're talking about a wrestling era that come up. Those guys, that was before cable was around. So in my era, when I grew up watching wrestling, Bruno Sammartinos, and I remember when Larry Zbyszko was first introduced, and Larry's going to be there also on June 21st. But I remember when he was first introduced, and Bruno brought him out. So Baron Cicluna, may his soul rest in peace. These were all guys that I grew up with in the business, and I have nothing but the most respect for them because they put up with a young kid who I'd go in the locker room, I'd sit down, I'd shut up, and, the Ken Pateras was in there, the Bob Backlunds were in there, and, I did what Mike Paducas and Bulldog Danny Pletchers told me. I went in, I sat down, I shut up, and I did what they told me to do.
Mm-hmm. How different was the WWF when you went there as Big Bully Busick as the WWF was in the 70s when you were there?
How do I explain this? It was bigger in the sense that TV production was 30 times greater. We were in bigger arenas. We wrestled in Philadelphia. When I first started, we did TV in Philadelphia. And it was more of a auditorium type thing where when you talk about going into civic centers and places like this where they do TV now. We were doing TV like that when I was there, leaving Civic Center and all the big places. So there was considerable difference in the programming and everything. So 30 times, if not more, difference in TV back when I first started and now.
Mm-hmm. How are the crowds different for the Northeast? Was it different wrestling in front of a crowd in the Northeast in New England as opposed to wrestling in Georgia?
Oh yeah, there was a big difference, and that was what the wrestling fan had a different mentality in the South as opposed to up north. As much as it was different, it was the same, if I could say that.
Yeah. Would you have to?
I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah. Would you change at all depending on the crowd, or would they just react differently?
Well, every crowd, every night was different. You didn't know what was going to happen, and the old timers, the Jerry Blackwells. Jerry Blackwell is the one who gave me my first push, and so when you wrestled the Jerry Blackwells, the Mr. Wrestling 2s, Abdullah the Butcher, Bruce Brody. Dick Slater was the booker down there. They taught me you've got to get a feel for the crowd, and so that's the way I was always taught. And, you went in where when you work TV, it's a little bit of a different story. You work the camera as opposed to the crowd.
I also mentioned too, Ox Baker, also a user of the hard punch over there, and he just beat me up recently in Charlotte. So keep watching.
Well, there's a kid up in Columbus, Ohio. I'm going to give him a little plug. Scott Spears, who's doing some independent TV up there, and Ox is real involved. And I guess Ox is going to do his last match, and I was invited to come up and be his tag team champion, but I'm I'm on the road for work right now, and I couldn't do that. But that would have been a huge honor to go up there and I mean, look at Ox's mustache and heart punch.
Yes.
Yeah, guess what?
I'm a huge fan of Ox Baker. He's the man. He was I was at actually a horror movie convention just last month, and he was there, and he had this giant crowd there, and these were people that were movie fans, but they saw Ox Baker, and he had the big facial hair, and he's wearing his furs, and he just drew a crowd. He's got that charisma. He's the man.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. And there's a key thing about the charisma. Those guys knew how to get the charisma. So they know their stuff, no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll have the link to the website on our website, but it's NEPW as in New England Pro Wrestling, HOF for Hall of Fame, .weebly.com. And we'll have the link right on the website so you can click on it. It's very easy. And I really look forward to the fans coming out and seeing that. I know the last one I went to up there, I do have a blast when the fans come through. I really get a kick out of it. Yeah, when they come and see you, do a lot of times will they remember maybe something that you yourself, a match or something that you did that maybe you don't even remember yourself?
I have fans telling me stuff about matches that I was in that I don't remember till they tell me, and I go, "Oh my God, you're right, I do remember that."
Yeah.
So that's what I said. The wrestling fan is the greatest fan in the world. They love their professional wrestling.
And there's all different packages you can get on the website. You can get all the way up to the VIP Deluxe package, which includes actually even includes your stay at the hotel, which that's very cool. And so check that out for yourself. There's all kinds of stuff. Even you can get a bikini photo op with Maria. Who wouldn't want that?
I think let's see, who's some of the female stars are going to be there?
Yeah, Sonny's going to be there. Maria's going to be there. Maria Kanellis, Crystal Marshall, Maxine. Big Bully Busick might now buy a VIP pass so you can get the bikini up.
Well, I was just going to say, I think I might be taking some pictures. I might blow my payday just buying pictures with all the female ladies there.
Maybe you can work out a deal with them, and you can give them a bully bar.
Right, yeah, bully bar or cigar, right?
Exactly. And I actually meant a bully bar. I wasn't making some kind of innuendo there. So. Well, thank you for coming on. It's always fun talking to you.
Well, listen, I appreciate you guys having me. Once again, I want to invite all the fans to come out to the New England Fanfest 4. It'll be June 21st in Warwick, Rhode Island at the Chrome Plaza. Come on out and see us, all the stars. Go on the website. I know you guys are going to link the website, so go out and see it. And God bless all the fans and you guys. And I sound like the Iron Sheik there, huh? God bless Vince McMahon and you guys. But anyway, thanks for having me on, and I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Sid Vicious. You're listening to InYourHead.com.